What if the world's most recognized face never wanted to be seen at all? This is the paradox of Leonardo DiCaprio, a man whose image defined a generation, yet whose heart always sought the quiet. Beyond the cameras. He isn't just an actor, he's a mirror reflecting every human contradiction, fame and loneliness, ambition and fear, glory and guilt. Behind the golden lights of Hollywood lies a boy who grew up surrounded by broken glass, who fought to stay authentic when the world demanded he become someone else. And maybe, that's the real secret, the world fell in love with Leonardo DiCaprio, but Leonardo spent his entire life trying to find out who he truly was. Because before the Oscars, before the fame, before the world knew his name, there was a single moment. In a quiet museum in Florence, that set his destiny in motion. It began with a single kick, not on a movie set, but in a hushed art museum in Florence. Ermelin Indenbergen, a young German woman, stood before a painting by Leonardo da Vinci. The brushstrokes glowed in the Italian light, and that's when she felt it, her unborn child kicking for the very first time. She smiled through tears. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was a sign. That day, she whispered a name, Leonardo. But destiny is rarely kind to dreamers. When her son was born, he wasn't surrounded by art or beauty. He was born into the chaos of East Los Angeles, a world of graffiti walls, abandoned cars, and the constant hum of sirens. His father, George DiCaprio, was a struggling underground artist and distributor of comic books. His parents' marriage fell apart before Leonardo could even walk. While other children grew up with lawns and bicycles, he grew up in a neighborhood riddled with drugs and violence. He once recalled, "I saw people shooting heroin right in front of me." Yet somehow, in that bleakness, his mother made him believe the world could still be beautiful. She took him to art galleries, film screenings, and the library, small windows of light in a dark city. That contrast, between chaos and creation, became the foundation of who Leonardo DiCaprio would become. Even as a boy, he wasn't dreaming of luxury or attention. He dreamed of escaping, of creating something that would last longer than the broken streets he came from. And maybe that's why, long before he became a movie star, Leonardo DiCaprio already had the heart of an artist, restless, curious, and quietly defiant. Hollywood loves to create stars. It polishes them, renames them, repackages them, until the real person disappears behind the brand. But when Hollywood tried to do that to a teenage boy named Leonardo, something unexpected happened. He said no. He was barely 13 when a casting agent leaned across the table and told him, "Your name's too foreign, DiCaprio. No one will remember that. Let's go with Lenny Williams. Sounds American. Sounds safe." For a moment, the room fell silent. The kid with messy blonde hair and sharp eyes stared back. Then he smiled, the kind of half-smile that could mean trouble, and said softly, "Then maybe I'm not meant to be safe." That defiance wasn't arrogance. It was identity. Because Leonardo had spent his whole life surrounded by people who had lost theirs, drug addicts, dreamers, ghosts of the city. He wasn't about to let Hollywood take his name, too. But the price of saying no was steep. He was rejected from one audition after another. Some casting directors called him too intense, others said he had the wrong face. He didn't fit the formula, and that was precisely what made him dangerous. Then, out of nowhere, fate came knocking, and it looked a lot like Robert De Niro. For his film This Boy's Life, De Niro auditioned hundreds of kids. But when Leonardo entered the room, the energy shifted. He didn't perform, he attacked. Raw emotion. Real fear. It wasn't acting, it was survival. De Niro didn't even hesitate. "That's the kid," he said. On set, Leonardo went head-to-head with his idol. playing a boy trapped under a violent stepfather. Every scream, every tear, every trembling silence, it was all real. The pain of his past, the rage of his childhood, poured out in front of the camera. When the film came out, audiences couldn't look away. Hollywood suddenly realized, this wasn't just another child actor. This was a revolution in human form, a kid who refused to play by their rules. And that rebellion was only getting started. There are moments in history when fame stops being a dream and becomes a trap. For Leonardo DiCaprio, that moment was Titanic. He was 22. Charming. Restless. Hungry to prove himself. When the script landed on his table, he hesitated. Another love story, he thought. He wanted rawness, not romance. But director James Cameron saw beyond the words. He saw a vulnerability that could sink and save hearts in the same breath. And then, the cameras rolled. From the moment Jack Dawson shouted, "I'm the king of the world," Leonardo's life would never belong to him again. Titanic became more than a film, it became a phenomenon. Theaters overflowed. Fans cried, fainted, screamed. Newspapers called him the most beautiful boy in the world. Girls tattooed his name. Crowds chased his car through the streets of Los Angeles. In less than a year, Leonardo went from an artist to an idol, a face too famous to be human. But behind that explosion of love was a quiet implosion. While the world was celebrating, he was hiding, locking himself inside hotel rooms, refusing interviews, avoiding mirrors. He once told a friend, "I couldn't go anywhere without feeling like I was being eaten alive." Everywhere he looked, he saw Jack Dawson, not Leonardo. Hollywood wanted him to play the same charming young man again and again. But he wanted the opposite, danger. Depth, darkness. So, he disappeared. No late-night shows. No red carpets. No endless parties. Just silence. The world had fallen for Jack. But Leonardo? He had fallen out of love with fame itself. When the noise of fame finally faded, Leonardo DiCaprio found himself standing in a kind of silence that few people ever experience, the silence that comes after the world has already decided who you are. He could have stayed in the comfort of his stardom, kept playing charming heroes, kept collecting paychecks, kept smiling for cameras. But comfort never interested him. Truth did. So instead of chasing fame, he chased risk. He worked with directors who scared him, Scorsese, Spielberg, Luhrmann. He played men who lied, broke, cheated, and burned from the inside. The Beach. Gangs of New York, Catch Me If You Can, The Wolf of Wall Street, every role was a rebellion against the easy version of himself that the world had fallen in love with. Hollywood thought he was running from success. In reality, he was running toward meaning. Every set became a kind of battlefield. He obsessed over every line, every look, every silence. When something didn't feel true, he tore it apart until it did. The more he acted, the more he realized, he wasn't playing characters anymore. He was dissecting himself. And yet, the deeper he went into his craft, the further he seemed to drift from happiness. He would later say that after The Aviator, he felt emotionally hollow, as if each role had taken a piece of him that never came back. But this is where Leonardo DiCaprio differs from almost every other star. He didn't treat acting as a career, he treated it as a kind of archaeology, digging through the ruins of human nature to find something real. That hunger, to understand, not just to perform, would soon lead him into his most demanding partnership, and his most dangerous obsession. Because just when he thought he'd found the truth, Martin Scorsese walked into his life, and showed him how far he still had to go. By the time Leonardo DiCaprio met Martin Scorsese, he was no longer chasing fame, he was chasing ghosts. And Scorsese, the mad poet of cinema, knew exactly how to feed that hunger. Their partnership was like striking two flints, brilliant, dangerous, inevitable. Together, they built worlds of sin, guilt, and redemption. But underneath it all, they were really exploring one thing: the cost of obsession. Yet, the irony was cruel. For all the pain, all the sacrifice, the one thing he couldn't get was the Oscar. Year after year, he sat through ceremonies, applauding as others won. The world laughed, turned him into a meme. Poor Leo, still no Oscar. But he didn't laugh. He kept working. Then, The Revenant. That wasn't acting. That was survival. He crawled through frozen mud, slept inside a dead horse, and ate raw liver until he vomited. The camera caught not performance, but pure endurance. When he finally won the Oscar, he didn't talk about victory. He talked about the earth, melting, dying, disappearing, with the calm of a man who'd seen too much truth to stay silent. Because in the end, Leonardo DiCaprio didn't just win Hollywood's highest honor. He proved that the only way to truly live is to risk losing yourself. At the height of his fame, Leonardo DiCaprio could have had anything: the parties, the mansions, the endless applause. But while the world was obsessed with who he was dating, he was quietly falling in love with something else: the earth. It started with a trip to the Amazon in the late 90s. He saw a stretch of rainforest burning, not in a movie, but in real life. The smoke wasn't special effects. The screams of animals weren't scripted. That moment shattered him. He returned home and did something Hollywood didn't understand. He stopped playing for applause and started fighting for existence. In 1998, he created the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation, a mission disguised as a charity. At first, people thought it was another celebrity vanity project. But over the years, it quietly became one of the most powerful environmental forces on the planet, funding over 200 projects in more than 50 countries, protecting oceans, forests, and endangered species, investing hundreds of millions into what he called the only role that truly matters. And he never advertised it. No photo ops. No grand speeches. Just results. When he finally did speak, at the United Nations Climate Summit in 2016, the room went silent. Standing in a black suit, no script, no actor's mask, he said, "You can make history, or you will be vilified by it. The time to act is now." That wasn't performance. It was prophecy. He walked where politicians wouldn't. The Arctic, the Amazon, the Maldives, he went there, saw the destruction with his own eyes, and came back furious. Then he did what he knew best, turned it into story. Before the flood, the 11th hour, Ice on Fire, not documentaries, but warnings written in light and sound. People called him a hypocrite. Another Hollywood actor playing hero. But they didn't see the man who gave away his fortune, who refused sponsorships, who used his fame not to sell, but to scream. Because somewhere along the way, Leonardo DiCaprio stopped playing characters who saved the world, and started trying to save it himself. And that, not the Oscar, not the fame, not the fortune, became his greatest performance of all. Fame never defined Leonardo DiCaprio. It tested him, and he refused to be owned by it. He has lived through the chaos, the worship, the exhaustion, and the endless noise, and somehow he found stillness on the other side. He's the man who turned fame into purpose, pain into art, and silence into power. His story isn't about success. It's about resistance, the courage to say no to everything the world told him he should be. Because while others chased the spotlight, he learned that sometimes the brightest light comes from the fire you keep within. And maybe that's the greatest secret of all. The man who conquered Hollywood did it by walking away from it.